The Isak saga. Oh boy. Oh boy. This has been one of the most entertaining transfer windows I've seen in a long time. At least since I've been a fan, it's definitely up there. But in the same time, it's one of the more scary ones because the league leaders, Liverpool, the league champions, who last season, I think they spent 14 mil all summer on Chiesa, won the league with Jurgen Klopp's team. Arne Slot's slight new adjustments to the squad. This season, they said, hold up, we're about to drop like 400, 500 mil this summer, bro. If you count up all their transfer business, it's actually absurd the amount of money they're spending. And I'm not one to talk. I'm a Chelsea fan. City fans, you can't talk. You guys spend a lot of money too. Arsenal, you've been spending money recently. United spends money. They're just bad at it. Like we all spend money. But Liverpool fans, you're not slick. Y'all always like, oh, we always do this without money. We always do this without money. Now you're just like us. You can't do that moral compass thing with us anymore. You guys are spending near 500 mil this summer. If you do end up getting the biggest target in the Premier League this summer, Alexander Isak, arguably top 5 striker in the world. You know, if you had that conversation, Haaland, Kane, Lewandowski still scored like 40 goals last year. Mbappe, if you want to call him a 9, which is kind of weird, but we'll say we put him up there as a 9. Even if you remove Mbappe, Isak's in that conversation. Gyökeres, we're going to hope to get in that conversation. I can't really put him there yet. But Osimhen, who's playing out in Turkey, so a little Mickey Mouse. But either way, Isak's in that conversation. And right now, Newcastle, who bought Isak when no other club was really looking at him, brought him up to be one of the best strikers in the world. Amazing season last year. Brought them their first trophy in however many, like 60 years or something. Now and they got Champions League on the final day of the season, which that was always the condition. Isak was always going to leave eventually, but if they got Champions League, the thing was he was going to stay because he wanted to play Champions League football. But Liverpool, they played a blinder this summer, 5D chess. So here's the game. Newcastle with Isak going into next year, they're thinking, okay, we kind of want to re-up, get a little more depth in the squad. Our right wing, we got Elanga, who's better than Jacob Murphy's on our right wing. We got Gordon on the left, Isak up top. Let's go get Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt. Nice young striker, a lot of potential, kind of a similar baby Isak, they call him. Because eventually we're going to lose Isak probably next summer. So we have Ekitike, bring him through, and hopefully in a year he can start for us. Solid business, I think, Newcastle. And Newcastle, who have the richest owners in the Prem, but can't spend any of the money because, PSR and all that stuff. They got finesse, I ain't going to lie. But Liverpool hears that. They're like, we kind of want Isak and we kind of want Ekitike, but, okay, we'll make you a little deal. Give us Isak, and we'll let you sign Ekitike. You want the Ekitike situation. So if you just slide us Isak this summer, even though we already spent like 350 mil, however much, slide us Isak for a little 120, and you guys can go have Ekitike run with the baby Isak. We'll just take the better one. Newcastle, of course, who just got Champions League football, thinking Isak, a little loyalty there. We had some good years. We brought you in. We brought you to the top level. They're like, hell no. Why would we give you Isak and we take the lesser player? We'll just keep Isak. You guys could have Ekitike. Sure, that's not a crazy ultimatum. We're just going to take Isak into next season. Liverpool say, okay, cool. We'll take Ekitike. Signed. Ekitike, 95 million to Liverpool. 95 million euros to Liverpool. Big signing. Massive signing. We know, obviously, the loss of Diogo Jota. They're probably going to get rid of Nunes. Liverpool needed to fill in that spot. They get Ekitike, and they look scary. They have Salah, Wirtz, Ekitike. Still have, at that point, Diaz. Gakpo is still there. Scary attack. And then all of a sudden, we hear little rumblings. Alexander Isak says, I want out. I want to leave Newcastle this summer.
Right after the Gyökeres signing at Arsenal,
right? Yeah, let's throw that in
there.
That
dude
too.
Did not want Arsenal.
Let's throw that in there too. Let's rewind the timeline. For years, Arsenal fans, after finding out Alexander Isak wears the number 14 because his idol is Thierry Henry, the Arsenal legend, the Premier League GOAT. They're like, oh my God, this guy is the next Thierry Henry. It only makes sense when he leaves Newcastle. The step up is Arsenal. So Arsenal fans for years have been saying it's only a matter of time. Isak leaves Newcastle, he's coming to us. He's coming to us. But this summer, they needed a striker, and Isak wasn't on the market. So, okay, we're going to have to decide Seshko or Gyökeres. They go back and forth, back and forth. They finally signed Gyökeres after Seshko. They were pushing that bargain too hard. They finally signed Gyökeres. They need a striker this summer. Arteta, it's title or bust, or some kind of silverware or bust. And Isak is probably going to go to Barcelona next summer or something. They just have to miss out on Isak. All of a sudden, like the day after they signed Gyökeres, Isak's all of a sudden like, I'm on the market. Like, Arsenal fans are tight. I would be tight if I was them too, bro. This unattainable striker just all of a sudden is putting in a transfer request, and technically they say it wasn't a transfer request. He just kindly asked if they could look at some options, whatever. Basically, he wants to go. So now all of a sudden Alexander Isak wants out. Newcastle's like, what the hell? We wanted Ekitike. We just let Liverpool sign him because we were going to back you going into next season, and all of a sudden you want out. And guess who's the number one bidder? Liverpool. Liverpool is not playing games. They bought Ekitike, and they said, you know what? Here go 2 more for y'all. We'll also get Alexander Isak, which is, you might think, how do Liverpool have this much money? Well, to be fair to them, people say the Coutinho money and the Luis Suarez money, the whatever. Realistically, they've spent well, and honestly not spent in certain windows to be able to save up the money. They won the league. They got decently far in the Champions League. They have a lot of money building up. And also, since the Ekitike sale, they say, you know what? We're going to go sell Luis Diaz for 75 mil to Bayern Munich, which to me, I ain't gonna lie, that's an overpay. But Bayern's stupid. Yeah, Bayern's stupid, so why not? And to be fair, they had the Musiala injury. Maybe they're a little desperate, but still, to me, that is an overpay. But Liverpool, after Chelsea, they're probably the best sellers and one of the best sellers in Europe in terms of getting crazy fees for players that probably don't deserve them. So now all of a sudden, Liverpool have another 75 mil in the bank, and they're going to go get Alexander Isak. Now, as of recording, this is not confirmed. It's still rumblings. It's still looking like they're talking. They're trying to figure out a bid. I think Newcastle's going to hold out for maybe 140 mil. I think they're looking for at least. But all signs are pointing to Liverpool having an attack of Salah, Wirtz, Ekitike, Gakpo, and arguably to some people the best striker. I'm sure to you, Alexi, the best striker in the Premier League, Alexander Isak. And to me, it's a close 1A, 1B with Haaland. So either way, it's absolutely absurd. And there's a little more that's coming after that. But what do you guys think about? I just waffled for a while, but
that was a great explainer for context for everyone. And I mean, you said it. It's terrifying, dude. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to watch the Prem the next 5 years if this happens, because this is just gonna be pure dominance on the attack. Like, I wish I had more words I could say. I literally can't, though. It's just like that amount of money being spent so well. Like, they saved up for this year, for these moments. And it's the fact too that these guys are young. It's not like Man U where we're buying 30-year-old strikers and shit half the time. It's like, nah, they are investing for like a potentially decade-long dominance. And I'm scared. I am scared.
It was definitely wild.
Yeah, I just don't have words. I can't. You see how flustered I am as a United fan with all this. Like,
this is what Liverpool's doing to us, man. This is crazy. They said, hold up, we're gonna go have the most titles in English history, and then they said we're gonna go extend that gap while United's fighting to get into the top half.
Liverpool's fighting to stay in the Prem, bro.
Fighting to stay in the Premier League. Liverpool's about to go crazy on a crazy run. And like you said, the biggest thing here is future-proofing the squad. Because Salah is obviously, like 33 at this point, or maybe turning 33. So he only has, I mean, he keeps in great shape. But let's say, realistically, he has like another season or two at the top level.
Yeah.
Now you have these super young dudes who can see the squad through till however many, 20, 30, 20, whatever. And once Salah's gone, I'm sure they're going to bring in someone. They had some kid the other day in the preseason game. I don't know if you guys saw, I forget his name. Some crazy young winger that looked absurd, like some academy kid. I think he was like 15. Bro.
Oh, no.
He was crazy. So, honestly, you bring this kid up as Salah's understudy, and maybe 2 years when Salah's out the door going to Saudi, wherever he goes, if you got this kid coming through, I'm sure they're going to buy someone else at some point as well because they just sell so well. But it's actually crazy what they're doing to the league. This year, I was looking forward to a really tight top 4 or maybe title race. And I still think there should be some kind of race because Arsenal, if you believe the hype, Gyökeres is that guy. And if City, City, and then Chelsea, a little outside shout for maybe an early push. But Liverpool, they're really trying to lap the playing field. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Eric, just on the thought of the bullying that basically happened. Liverpool literally just little bro Newcastle, bro. They said, how about we just take both? Like, y'all are waffling. We're just going to take both. What do you think about that whole saga there?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I will say, like, as someone who doesn't watch the Premier League all that much, it's a little bit unfortunate, I will say, in the sense that the Premier League is known as like the most competitive league I would say, like from an outsider's perspective. But now that you have a team that has become such a juggernaut, they just won the whole thing, and now they've just upgraded their roster. We know that on paper can mean nothing sometimes in the sport of soccer. Have had like very honest conversations about PSG and the moves that they now need to make because maybe they've probably added too many pieces. So it is a little bit interesting, but you're already at the top, man, and you're just getting stronger. So this only points to a potential like run at the Champions League, which will be interesting. I'd be down to see if there's any other teams out in Europe that can outmatch this team, even though they may not necessarily, like you could say, like out talent them. But it is a little bit interesting to see a team just get this strong, because now, at least from the Premier League perspective, I'm kind of like, man, I already know, I have an idea of how the next season's going to turn out. So why even tune in at that point? And that's me just being in, like, I don't even want to say a casual fan, more like like I'll watch here and there. I'll tune in every now and then, but that's what stands out to me. But interesting to see how this plays out in the Champions League setting.
I'm calling it now, man. This is where we go full circle. Champions League final, Liverpool, Barcelona. And my boy Rashford, he's got that Man U in him. He seals the deal for the win against Liverpool. That
would be crazy.
David versus Goliath. And he comes in with the slingshot, top right corner. Gives Barca the lead, and we don't have to see Liverpool win that. So I'm calling that right now. You can mark it. That's how it will happen.
That would be like the script. That would be a crazy script for his like career. I do think that would be. I think now with Liverpool's additions, we are looking at like PSG, Barcelona, Liverpool as probably like the three heavy favorites going in. People are gonna say Madrid is always, always got to keep an eye out for Madrid, but they got to sort out that whole situation. We're done with the heritage talk. I know last year we put a lot of stock into that in our predictions. We're done with that talk, bro. You're gonna have to prove it on the field, figure out the X's and O's. But Liverpool, Barcelona, PSG, they all look extremely scary. And I think especially in Liverpool, like Eric, from a basketball perspective, this is like, I know we don't have draft in soccer, but this is like if the Thunder had the number 1 pick in the draft after winning the finals, they just went and picked up the next best player, which is crazy. You know, the only thing that would make your script crazier, Alexi, with Rashford, is if it was in Paris, the final.
Another night in Paris, man. Do we know where this final will be?
Yeah, it's in Budapest.
Wow,
it doesn't hit the same. No offense to Budapest, but there's certain lore with Rashford in Paris. If you know, you know.
Those nights in Paris, he never fails.
Exactly. Pause. But just to wrap up the segment, there's a little more addition onto this for the Isak saga. Newcastle obviously losing their best player, their striker, their talisman. Potentially. You know, there's no guarantees. So we talked about this, but really Newcastle are in a position of power here. Isak, same thing with how Man United. Isak's going to want to play this year going into the World Cup. If Sweden qualify, he's going to want to play. So they really do have the power, and he's still on the
hold that boy hostage, man. Don't let Liverpool do this.
And he has years on his contract, a couple years left on his contract. So really, they can push a bargain for 140, 150. If I'm Newcastle, I'm holding out until if they don't hit 150. I ain't selling, honestly. If I'm Newcastle.